I would rather put it this way, saying Bruce Wayne in the mornings and a Batman at night. So I think your Batman avatar is a music avatar.
Yes, and also the Bruce Wayne avatar is a lot poorer. So there's this portion that goes Vale Kondale Kattu Maram Kondale Gundu Meena Alli Vara Kondale.
Hey guys, welcome to LastBench podcast episode 2. In this episode, we have a very interesting person, somebody who is from the music field. Not just that, somebody who's also a stand-up comedian. We have with us Vijaynarain all the way from Australia. Hey Vijay.
Hey Sriram, how's it going? And great work on the podcast. Congratulations on starting this series. And how's everyone doing? Hope you all are safe and keeping well during these times. It's a pleasure to be on this podcast. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Vijay. All's well here. We're based out of Bangalore, and we've been a little lucky with the entire lockdown situation in India. So a lot of cities have taken time to open, but Bangalore opened up much earlier. And people have been a little resilient and gone about doing their work, which also is one reason why we started off early this when soon as the unlock started. So yeah, all well here, man. I hope you're safe. I hope things are well in. So where in Australia are you based out of right now?
So I am right now in Sydney, and this is where I've been the past 6.5 years now. Oh, wow, time flies.
All right. So how would you identify yourself, Vijay? I mean, I know it sounds a little too macro, but yeah, what's the best way to identify Vijay?
Look, I guess I am at a point in my life where I am balancing two careers and quite fond of both of them. So I'm an IT consultant in the Australian education industry. That's what I do to pay the bills. And outside of my day job, I am also a musician in the Tamil film industry predominantly. So I sing in Tamil films, and I recently also composed for my first ever, Tamil feature film, like a full-length Tamil feature film. So it's a nice place to be, and I've kind of, over the years, I've basically shuttled between these two careers, and at different points in time, given more preference to one over the other. But I think I've kind of struck the balance.
Cool.
Yeah. So with respect to what I do in life and what is going on in my life right now, I guess I quite like balancing and juggling these two jobs, if you may.
Lovely. I would rather put it this way, saying Bruce Wayne in the mornings and a Batman at night. So I think your Batman avatar is a music avatar.
Yes, and also the Bruce Wayne avatar is a lot poorer. So
interesting. So Vijay, I think that's a good intro. And when I look at you, there are, I see a lot of similarity in our journey, man. I think it's good to sort of lay it down here, so our viewers, listeners can also sort of resonate with this. I think so, guys. So Vijay and I both come from Chennai. We didn't know each other quite back then. We from the same area in Chennai, and for the Tamil audience, we both are from Mambalam. So very classic Mambalam.
Go Mambalam.
Mambalam, proper Mambalam do
for the win.
And so I think we finished schooling at the same time, and so that's sort of a great similarity to start with. And we both went to our business school at the same time. We went to ISB Hyderabad, and I think both of us pursued a career right after ISB, something which we both liked. But at some point, both of us decided to do what we really have enjoyed doing and sort of wanted to pursue. And right now, we both are at different points. I'm trying to do this full time, which I still believes in doing, balancing both. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But one memory for me, which I'm going to talk about a small memory, and then maybe you can take us through your journey of, how that's been. So for me, the first memory of Vijay is Vijay Adams. Now that might sound,
oh man,
and I promise that's how I have saved Vijay's name on my phone as well. I call him Vijay Adam because of Vijay took part in a very famous, iconic music show back in Tamil called Vijay
Yeah.
Super Singer, Airtel Super Singer, which was aired in Vijay TV. And I mean, we were like big fans of Vijay back then, and he had given this stellar performance of Summer of '69. So the judges over there decided to christen him as Vijay Adams. So my family still knows Vijay as Vijay Adams. And so yeah, Vijay, why don't, I mean, I've spoken a lot, so I'd love for you to talk about how life is spanned from Vijay Adams. So yeah.
I had no idea what I was getting into, man. Like, to be honest, I expected to crash out in the first round, and I just wanted to give it a shot and just see, because I didn't know a lot of films. I didn't know a lot of film music, and that show is basically about, performing covers of popular Tamil film songs. And all I knew was AR Rahman songs because that's all I grew up listening to as far as Tamil music was concerned at that point in time. I have over the years later, grown to listen to a lot of other music, but yeah, that at that point in time, all I knew was these Rahman songs, and that was also because I basically wanted to sing for Rahman. That was a life goal of mine. So I took part in the show because one of the judges, well, all of the judges are famous singers in their own right, and they've sung for Rahman. They've sung some beautiful songs like Srinivas sir. He sung so many good songs for Rahman, right? And then obviously Sujata ma'am, she's been right with Rahman from his Roja days. So yeah, so I was like, let's give this a shot, and one thing led to another, and I found myself in one of those rounds, which was, I think, I was in the top 15 when that whole the other non-Tamil language round happened.
Pop
And
round.
yeah, the pop round. I think it was called the other languages round, if I remember correctly. And everyone was singing in Malayalam or Hindi or Telugu at that point in time. And I was like, okay, let's give English a shot. And yeah, back in the day, I used to listen to a lot of Brian Adams, so I just sang that song, and for some reason it just clicked big time with the judges, and they decided to christen me Vijay Adams at that point. And that was probably the highlight of my presence in that show there. Notwithstanding that I actually made it to the top 5, but people still, like people like your parents remember me from that particular episode. So that's what stuck. Since then, there's been, I've had quite a journey musically. That reality show was an initial, glimpse into how the music industry works, and it did give me a few connects. But there is there are two sides to being on a reality show. So one is that you get sucked into a vortex of just doing more shows like that till you find some kind of self-defined success there, and then you start evaluating that as a career option. And there are lots of things that can go right or wrong when you start doing that. So, and you're also at I was at this stage in life where I was like really young, like out of college, like 3 or 4 years out of college, had a job, and I was balancing the job and going to these episodes. And I was contemplating quitting my job because it got boring at that point in time. An entry level coding job wasn't really my passion then. And so the downside of quitting would have been basically having to survive a dog eat dog industry where you haven't really made it. You've been in a reality show, but then when the next season comes, people practically forget you. So there was that situation, and I don't know what prevented me. I guess my risk-averse nature is what prevented me from quitting my job altogether at that point in time.
Yeah, so you did this show, you were out of college, so it was exciting. You came up to the top 5. Like you said, people remember you for the English one, but I think you did some really good numbers, and you made a name for yourself though. But how did you also had a stint with Rahman. So.
Right, yes.
So, I think that would love to hear how that happened. And I remember you've told this to me earlier, but I think everybody it will be exciting if you can tell us how did your breakthrough to Rahman happen?
That was, well, like I said, I only knew Rahman songs back then, and that ties in with, a bit of my background. So I grew up mainly in Delhi and Bombay during my formative years. Well, the first 5 years of my life where I didn't really, understand much, that was in Chennai. But after that, I was predominantly in Delhi and Bombay for the next, in Salem for a couple of years. But till I came back to Chennai to do college. So I didn't really grow up with a lot of Tamil film music because my folks wouldn't listen to a lot of film music for some reason. Carnatic music, yes, and I did learn a fair bit in my childhood. And so what happened was that I only heard Rahman songs because the Rahman phenomenon happened in Hindi and Tamil and across the board, right? In the late 90s. So Dil Se and Lagan and all of that happened. And so I had this dream of singing for Rahman. And like I said, I did not make it unclear in that show that I really wanted to sing for Rahman. So every round I basically picked a Rahman song unless it was a specific, non-Rahman round where it was some other composer's round, right? And so the judges by that time knew how passionate or desperate, depending on how you see it, I was to sing for Rahman. And it so happened that Srinivas, who was one of the judges, like I said, he usually used to conduct a lot of these backing vocal sessions for Rahman. I think he still does. So must have been a couple of years after the Super Singer stint. So I think it was 2009.
Sure.
I got a call from the studio, and this was out of the blue. I was coming back from dinner, and I get a call saying, "This is we're calling from Rahman's studio, and there's a recording. Are you available?" And I was like, "Yeah, you must be kidding me. Sorry, who's this again?" Like, this is Rahman's, the person who calls the music coordinator, and Srinivas referred you. So can you please come? And that was that. So I went in there, and that was first things first. Mr. Rahman wasn't there. So that was something that was a bit of a bummer, but you know what? I eventually came to know that, came to learn that, that's going to be like the 90% scenario when you're doing backing vocals. So it's such a big process inside that studio that it's quite fascinating the way it works. And, he's got everything in his mind, and he knows how to translate that to somebody like Srinivas, who's an accomplished musician himself. And then he is able to record the singers and extract exactly what Mr. Rahman's vision is, right? And so this was a recording for the movie Ravan, and this was in Hindi. Oh. And that's a small piece that actually appears in the movie, but it's not in the soundtrack. It's called Yudh Karu. That was actually the first time I stepped into the studio and did that, and I was over the moon. Like, I must have been with 10 other people doing that session, but just knowing that, my voice is somewhere in there in a Rahman soundtrack was a big deal. Lovely. And when the album released...
Okay, sorry, go on.
Yeah, sorry. When the album released, I actually saw my name in the credits.
Oh, wow.
So that kind of, that tells you that you've kind of made it. That was like 50% of my dream come true. 50% because I still haven't sung a solo or a duet for Mr. Rahman.
But,
so, that's what started.
This is interesting because I didn't know about this start. For some reason, I always thought your start was with Ele Ki Chan from Kadal.
Kadal, yeah. So that's because that was really the first song where you can actually hear my voice in a Rahman song. Yeah.
So again, why don't you? I mean, I know this sounds very cliched, but I mean, just for the sake of the larger audience, just a short 10-20 second piece on that song. I mean, if you could.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Oh, you want me to sing?
Yeah, of course. I want you to sing. Yeah, like a short bit.
Okay. I'll sing the portions that actually appear in the song. So it is short. It's about 20 seconds. So
you can sing the song also if you want to. So
yeah. So there's this portion that goes Vale Kondale Kattu Maram Kondale Gundu Meena Alli Vara Kondale Ele Ki Chan Vandachu Nama Susa Ponnu Vandachu Eisa Varam Porinjachu. So that Vale Kondale portion, just before Ele Ki Cha starts, that's the portion that
Nice. Yeah, I mean, we can obviously, I think you made a right point. We can still hear your voice in that very, very clearly. So, nice. Good.
That was again. Sorry?
No. So, and after this was... So I'm trying to trace your journey also, Vijay. So after this, these couple of songs, did you sing more or it was right after, I mean, it was your B school after this?
So I was in B school, and just before B school, there is another interesting thing that you don't know about this, Sriram, and you'll find this quite funny. So I actually deferred my ISB admit when I recorded Ele Ki Cha like that. So Ele Ki Cha I recorded, I think, on the 5th of January of 2012.
Okay.
And was it February? When did we get our admits, man? Was it on Feb 15th, right? Yeah, so about a week before that was when Ele Ki Cha happened.
Oh, okay.
And so the recording, right? And I deferred my admit because I was like, wait, I'm part of a Mani Ratnam movie, and who knows where this will take me. Maybe I should give it a year and wait for it to release. And I pondered over it for a couple of days. ISB actually accepted my deferral.
Oh, okay. I didn't know this.
Yeah. And then, I don't know, I think better sense prevailed. And I said, you know what, I should be able to manage B School and anything that comes after it. And maybe B School will actually put me in a better position to market myself, after I come out of it and if the song releases. And guess when the song released? It actually released when we were in Mohali for day 2 of placement. So it was a long time after. It was December.
So, glad you actually joined.
I know. We wouldn't be having this conversation otherwise.
I agree. So interesting, right? So we've been talking all about music and the musical side of you. And, there's this whole B School geek side of you. So why don't you, what was it that prompted you to, go the B School route? I know you did mention parents, family asking you to do an MS, and then you decided to do an MBA, but what was the need? I mean, didn't you want to go creative fully, or,
okay,
why don't
so
you
the need, I guess the need was that, like any middle class West Mambalam family, basically there was this pressure to, be in a stable job and be financially secure. And the music industry is one industry where I'm sure, financial security is not the first thing that happens to you, no matter how successful you are. So it takes a while to get there.
Sure.
And so I had a job in hand, and my parents were like, you know what, you can do music, but maybe you should pursue higher studies. And their idea of higher studies, like I said, was MS and going to the US. I figured, the US was too far, and I wasn't really interested in doing like a computer science MS because I really hated my coding job when I was at it. And so I figured, I am good at managing stuff and, the general kind of skills that an MBA has, which are very vague, as you know. So being able to, waffle on like we are now. And so I figured, well, you know what, an MBA will put me in a good position to do whatever it is that I want and run with it and possibly succeed better. And so maybe I'll do full-time music after I do an MBA, start my own production label and run with it. And so that's the reason I applied for an MBA. And I got ISB because, well, I had the Rahman stamp on my brand, and I'm sure that helped because, I had the diversity component, I guess, as far as a background was concerned. So I was really surprised and pleased at the fact that I got into ISB. That happened, and then once ISB happened, you know how that journey goes. That 1 year is really intense. So music was more of a release from the pressure than something that I wanted to focus as a career on during that MBA.
Sure. And I think you didn't really give up music while you were at ISB also. I remember
not at all.
You leading the music club and sort of bringing in a lot of life into it. I mean, trying to get a lot of people on board. You made me sing once. I've been a very shy bathroom
and you did
singer.
Quite well, man. Not once. I
think a couple of times.
Remember more than a
couple of times.
I still remember Luka Chupi during Solstice.
Oh yeah. So we did that, and so that was good. I think so. You brought a lot of life. I think not just us, and it was great, man. I mean, super. So now I'm going to move in and sort of jump into your. So for the viewers or the listeners, update. So Vijay did his MBA and then moved to pursuing a corporate job. I think he did well in his job. That's what I would say. He moved to another country. So I think he moved from India. He moved to Australia. So I think that happened. And I don't think music left Vijay or Vijay left music. So I think, Vijay, your the next blip in your musical journey, I think the positive blip, I would say, would have been Santosh Narayanan, right?
Absolutely,
right?
Yes.
Okay. So why don't you take us through that journey of how the whole Santosh Narayanan Connect started?
Yeah. So right after ISB is when I was in this state of flux where I wanted to decide if I really wanted to take music seriously because you don't realize before the MBA that the MBA actually saddles you with a big loan to pay off, and so basically stuck in that vortex of having to earn a living even after the MBA. So I was like, okay, look, I was quite active in the Chennai music scene, and I was particularly enthused with the independent music scene back then. So
Mm.
the likes of Sean Roldan, Pradeep Kumar, and Santosh, and all of these guys, they were doing quite well in that scene back then. And I think Santosh had just started out with a couple of movies that had done well, Attakati and Pizza, if I remember correctly. And so there was this jamming session among these musicians, and everyone was invited. And these used to happen in Besanaga Beach.
Wow,
So I
okay.
just went there once, and Pradeep was there, and Santosh was also there. And I didn't know Santosh then. I got introduced to him, and I was performing one of my own compositions, on the guitar. And I'm sure you've heard that song. So yeah, I met Santosh, and I said a hi, and I really liked the work that he had done for Attakati. But I really didn't expect him to remember me. So what happened was, a year later, my company sent me to Australia on an assignment, which was supposed to be for 6 months. And that kept extending, and I really liked Sydney, to be honest. And so I decided to continue here for as long as the gig went. And one fine day, I got a message on Facebook from a lady who said, "Hey, are you in Sydney? I didn't realize." And so I was like, "I'm sorry, have we met?" And she said, "Yes, I'm Santosh Narayanan's wife. We met in Besant Nagar during the jam." And I was like, "Oh, wow, that's great." And we connected, and then she was like, he visits here often to record strings. So why don't you come meet us when he's here? And so when Santosh was there, I actually met him during one of his sessions when he was doing strings for Irdi Chutru. It's called Sala Khadus in Hindi. And that was a beautiful session because I had never seen a live orchestra being recorded. And the one in Sydney is amazing. It was a 40-piece orchestra that was being recorded for the Madhavan movie. And the movie did really well in Tamil. And we became really good friends because we connected on more than just music. Like, we share, I think, the same wavelength when it comes to a sense of humor and other things like cricket. We're both Dhoni fans. So lots of things like that. And so we bonded really well. And then I ended up singing a song in Irdi Chutru for him. And that again was the beginning of our collaboration. And then once he went back to Chennai, I guess by that time, everyone had fast enough internet connections, and we were kind of ahead of the remote working Corona curve, basically. So we used to do a lot of these sessions where I would record my voice and send it back to him. I ended up singing for quite a few of his songs.
I was fascinated, man. I think I remember speaking to you back then after Iridu Chuttra, and then when you started picking more songs, and you told me, and I was wondering, how are you doing this? Are you flying back and, going back Chennai, Sydney? And you said, no, I just record a piece, send it to him, Skype or, whatever modes. And I remember you telling me this, and I was very fascinated. But today, of course, it is a way of life for all of us.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, but it's interesting. So again, since we are on this, I loved your piece in Irudhu Sutre, where in that Maya Visay song, if I'm right.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you, if you can, give us a bit of peek into that, that'll be great.
Yeah, you want me to sing a couple of lines?
Yes. I know it's a little high pitch, so I know it's nighttime for you.
It is, yeah. That's fine. I mean, I can sing it in a lower pitch. It'll still carry the same energy, I guess. Yeah. It goes. கண்ணிரண்டில் இலக்கினை பதுக்கிடு உன் கவனம் அதற்கென ஒதுக்கிடு மின்னணுவும் சிறியது உணர்ந்திடு நீ நகர்ந்தால் பொறி வரும் நகர்ந்திடு.
And in Hindi, how was it? Do you remember the lyrics?
I don't remember the lyrics, to be honest. I mean, in Hindi, it was more of me backing up Vishal Dadlani.
Vishal Dadlani, yeah.
Yeah, he was doing the soaring vocals in that song.
But your voice is still heard, man. I mean, anybody who's heard your songs can always spot it.
Thanks, man. In the Hindi version, it was just, me and Santosh, I guess, backing up Vishal because he's got this powerful throw that's really hard to recreate or match.
Yeah. Great. You also, in between, slipped in a point saying Santosh's and your sense of humor sort of aligned.
Oh, yeah.
And talking about sense of humor, I remember you doing a bit of stand-up comedy as well while at ISB. It's very stupid of me to ask, do you still practice jokes? I mean, you can't practice.
No, I don't. So that's the thing, right? So with the stand-up thing, what happened was, I guess, I don't even remember how it started. Yeah, Saurabh Pant, right? He came to ISB and he had this workshop on how to write jokes, I guess. So he's probably the better guy to be interviewing with regards to this. But I do remember he asked us to come back with some, I did that workshop just for kicks. And he asked us to come back with, 1 minute of content or something after that workshop. And I went and presented it to him, and he was like, hey, you know what? I've selected like these 5 or 6 guys who I'd like to open in my show at ISB. And so I got like a 1 minute slot, and I think I cracked a few jokes and some people laughed. So that kind of gave me confidence. But then again, that was a crowd that knew me already, and everyone knew everyone else. It was a very comfortable crowd to perform in front of, I guess. So what happened was, after that, I was known in the Chennai circle of theater and comedy and music as a musician. There's this other group called Stray Factory, the theater group. They asked me to do a 5-minute set as part of their one of their shows, and that clicked really well. So this was in Alliance Francaise, I think in 2013, just before I went to Australia.
Nice.
And I wrote some content, and there were some really good guys over there who helped me refine the content, and I was there. The thing is, I could slide in singing when the jokes weren't working. That was the advantage I had, I guess. So, you don't laugh. You didn't laugh for that. Okay, cool. Do you want to hear a song? And the audience will be like, yes. Okay. There you go.
So you don various hats depending on music or comedy, or I don't know what else, man. I mean, I know you're a techie, but anything else that I'm missing on this?
I like writing, although I haven't written a whole lot in the last few years, but I do enjoy the process of writing. I mean, it would be a stretch to call it creative writing, but yeah, I just generally tend to write now and then. And I had the opportunity to write an article on the music of Kabali for First Post once. So that was one thing that I did.
Talking about Kabali, I know you did the whistle part for Kabali. The most
yes, I did.
Iconic whistle, so we have to hear it. This is for Talaivar. There's no way you're escaping from this. So yeah.
It's winter. It's very dry in this room, but I will still give it a shot because it's for Talaivar.
Anyway, that's awesome, man. That was so. Again, it doesn't have to just be singing a song, and it could be anything. And I think this was an iconic.
Whatever comes. Again, this was completely unexpected. This was one of those things where I was at Santosh's house and we were chilling actually in Sydney. He was in Sydney, and we were just like doing time pass. And like, hey, look, I'm doing something. This is a song. I didn't even know it was for Kabali. Like, there's this whistle portion. You want to give it a shot because I had whistled in another song. It's called Poi Varva from this movie called Manidan. So there's a whistle interlude there which I had done, and the whole process of that song taking shape was again in Santosh's home studio in Sydney, and it was a beautiful overnight session where we were just jamming ideas, and I whistled, and then that BGM happened, and so like, hey, do you want to try whistling this thing while we're at it? And so I did that whistle, and that's it. I forgot about it. And I didn't even realize that after the song had released. Like, the Kabali trailer was going viral, if you remember. And that whistle was there in that trailer. And I was like, I had no idea I had done that. And then somebody took a screenshot of the YouTube credits and said, whistle Vijaynarain and Shamalangan. Because my other friend, Shamalangan, was also in Sydney. So he has done the whistle for the other song, Ulagam Oruvanaka, in Kabali. So I was surprised, and I called up Santosh and like, dude, what? Santosh was like, yes, I used that whistle.
Interesting. Cool. So we're going to jump in, and I know we've been speaking for a while, and it's always, you never know, time flies. But yes, so the last piece, of course, is, you've done all this, and then you also did, something pretty crazy, and I would say something super awesome by composing a full-fledged film score, songs, background, everything last year, or was it 2020, early 2020?
That was last year, and this music released early this year.
Okay, got it. So yeah, and you did that completely remotely.
Well, the songs, most of it, yes. The background score completely in Chennai. So.
And had you quit your job by then?
I had, yes. So that was well, I guess that's really the crazy part, not the fact that I worked remotely.
No, not at all. I think.
So of all the years that I had done,
full movie, man. So yeah. So why don't you talk me through you quitting your job and pursuing a full-fledged music score for a film?
Sure. So this lead came sometime in mid 2018, and this editor friend of mine. I mean, I didn't know him then. He just contacted me on Twitter and said, "Hey, would you be interested? I heard your song somewhere, one of my original compositions, and it was really nice. And one of my friends is making a movie. Would you be interested?" I said, "Okay, sure." And then nothing happened for a month or two. And then one day, this friend who's the director, he called me and he said, "Look, I'm making this movie. It's a masala movie, and I haven't finalized the hero yet, but it's going to be an action comedy. And would you like to compose for it? Can you send me some samples?" So I sent him some samples, and then he came back with a brief saying, "Look, there is this particular situation where there's this theme, and he's a bit of a con man, and he's escaping. So can you compose like a 1 minute theme as a sample, so that I can show the production." I did that and sent it back in a week, I think. And yeah, that was it, radio silence. And then one day, I think about 3 months later, like this was almost at the end of 2018, I get a call out of the blue from the director saying, "Hey, they're all happy, and the movie is starring this guy, this hero called Santanam, who's a comedian, but he's turning into a hero. So, I've got him on board, and he really likes the sound of your music. So you're on board. Let's discuss." And that was the pretty much the official start of it. The movie itself took a while to happen, and I at the outset I laid down my mode of working, saying I was going to work remotely from Sydney as far as the songs were concerned, and that I basically defined my boundaries clearly, saying I will be at a day job till 5 o'clock, which kind of works well with the Indian time, right? Because you know the day starts at around 10 or 11 o'clock. I will be available from 12 because of the 5.5 hour difference in summer. And so it was really fun working on it and getting the songs underway. So I was able to actually understand the situations, read the script, all of it here, and started working with some very talented local Sydney musicians, with roots in India or Sri Lanka, but then people who've grown up here, and there is some amazing talent, I have to say that. So it was really a nice process of understanding and translating, I guess, the director's requirements. I'm sure you're doing a lot of that, the video equivalent of that now. But for me, it was, translating a brief into musical terms and concepts is, I guess, it's something that there is no mathematical or scientific way of doing it. I guess it's just a mixture of instinct and past experience, as well as listening to the right references, I guess. And so the film took off slowly, and then it was a start-stop kind of a thing throughout 2019. But around September is when it started gathering steam, and by then most of the songs were composed. At least the scratches were composed and approved. And I just had an idea of who needs to do the final singing, and then just certain instruments needed to be recorded, and I had to be in Chennai. So I figured now might be a good time to possibly consider moving to Chennai. And that really coincided well with the end of my contract at work. So I was doing a contract work for the New South Wales government, and that ended, and it segued nicely. I was in desperate need of a vacation because I was doing both these things for a few months now. And so I soloed across South Island, New Zealand for 10 days, and then got the next flight. As soon as I came back to Sydney, I caught a flight, came to Chennai. And I had a grueling couple of months, great learning experience, because the film industry works completely different from the corporate world. And so there is the same kind of, I guess, best practices or processes don't apply in this industry. It's a different kind of, every aspect like time management, people management, all of that is very different when it comes to the creative field. So yeah, that was a bit of a challenge, but I guess I oversaw it. I overcame them. And the music released good reviews. I'm not quite sure the movie did as well as some of us were hoping it would. But I guess everything's a learning experience at the end. And, to be able to actually to be able to tell people that I've composed for a full-fledged movie was a thing. Now I know what to do and what not to do with respect to time management, as well as in terms of creative choices that I make. So that's something that I took away from it. And I was in fact planning to move to India and continue doing music. I'm sure you remember our conversation the last time we met in Bangalore, right? So
Yeah, I remember
that
and we were exploring how do we perceive. I mean, I think the chat was around saying how can you pursue something creatively, as a full time, career.
exactly. So
And
that was the state that I was in, till March. And the reason I even came to Sydney was to wind up my apartment and move back to India. And 2 days after I landed here, everything went into lockdown, and
hmm.
I found myself without a job, and the music industry basically, stopped overnight, I guess,
Yeah,
because movies
and
weren't being
it's
made.
hard, right? Because if people aren't producing films, there's no music, and
Well, there is music. There's a lot of good music. I mean, my friends have also been. I have a lot of indie musician friends who've been putting out their music, their original content out there. But unfortunately, there is no, significant revenue model yet for,
correct.
at least for Tamil music, I would say, because a lot of the music is dependent on there being a film to back it up, because the music is basically marketing for the film, and the film's budget sort of covers the music's expenses. I don't think anybody still makes profit out of the music itself as much these days.
True, true. I know I'm deviating, but just a comment. I mean, the moment you said indie music, Tamil music, and stuff, I mean, I was just reminded of this one track, Kannil Marai by Prasanna, P.
Oh
Prasanna.
yeah.
So, being a huge fan of it, you would have, of course, listened to it.
Oh, Prasanna is a good friend and a very, very solid guy. I mean, he's you should have a conversation with him, man.
I would love to. So, I mean, I'm not, I'll come back immediately to you, but the
Yeah.
only reason I mentioned this was since you mentioned all this, I always remember Kandal Marai, and I've always told people about it to give it a listen, to, sort of contribute in some way to it, either, what to figure out a way, because music like that should always, yeah, in my view,
Absolutely. Yeah.
should prosper, and musicians like them should always grow. And I mean, I wish the same for you, but yeah, so back to you, which I know I digress, but back to you. So how is it now? I mean, do you still, I know, cutting the chase, I know you've picked up a contract to work as a techie again, in the education field.
Yeah.
This is what you used to do earlier. But how do you keep the musician in you alive in these times?
So look, part of it is, I guess, like it comes back to my very first answer, right? So it's in the mental state that I am in right now, and the satisfaction that I get out of making music. So I guess I used to define my success as far as music was concerned as singing for a film or singing for Rahman. At different points in time, it was different things, right? And so I guess right now my definition of fulfillment as far as music is concerned is not really being famous or having a hit song anymore. And so I do music for the pure enjoyment of it, and I think that's the ideal state for me to be in. And that's therefore, how do I keep in touch with music? I sing generally at home. I don't really put in the hours to practice at a regular time. When the odd bout of inspiration strikes, I take to Instagram and post a recorded video sometimes. I even did an Instagram live, I guess a couple of weeks ago on a whim. Like, I had no idea what I was going to sing. I just,
But it was
announced that I was going live in 10
decent bit,
minutes
I
and it
would
went.
say. A lot of people joined, and I was there.
Yeah, it was really fun. So I will probably do more of that.
So, yeah.
And I also intend to write some original music and start releasing it, because well, now is not the time when everyone's sitting at home consuming content. So
Sure, sure. Are you afraid, or are you scared that you might drift away from your creative interests? I mean, that's something that I have always been scared of, and I'm still scared, because for me, photography was very crucial. But ever since LastBench came in, it's more like a baby. So I've become a business guy again, trying to build LastBench, hiring people, pursuing clients. But we still do a bunch of creative things. I mean, the podcast is one way to keep the whole creative interest alive, irrespective of any client work. But my whole fear for me is that I would drift away from photography, which is what defined me. So I'm sort of struggling to go back and sort of keep clicking something. So do you have a similar fear?
oh, absolutely. So I think that's that's the nightmare of every creative person, right? The fact that you'll wake up one morning and forget what you forgot, wake up forgetting what you knew, and you won't be able to go back to it. But what I've realized is there have been stretches of time where I haven't really done any significant music, and then there'll be this one, like I said, this one sudden bout of inspiration might strike, and you want to go back to it, but then you realize you're actually rusty, like your throat's not cooperating, or the chords aren't coming, and you've forgotten what you're used to be really good at. It just takes a bit of revision, and that's actually an enjoyable process to me. I don't fret over the fact that I've forgotten something, or I'm not in touch as much as I should be, and that's purely because, again, I have stopped defining my success based on how others are doing, or how I guess on monetary grounds as well. So it's only when that happens, it becomes a challenge, and I guess that would be my advice, to be honest, for anyone who wants to be in a creative field, because in today's world, it's very democratized and very easy to actually put yourself out there as a creative person and put your content out there. And it's really easy to even get like a following, but to keep at it and to, get fulfillment from it, it's really a very personal thing. And you cannot let, a view count on a YouTube video, or,
I agree.
Positive comments. You cannot let those things define your success. I know they contribute to it and they give you a great dopamine kick and a morale boost. Obviously, I mean, it's validation at the end of the day for the hours you've put in, but that alone shouldn't be your success criteria. I think that's. I know I sound very sagely, and at the end of the day, we're all human, and it sometimes does get to you.
It's very valid, Vijay, and we all go through that whole journey. And in some sense, this is somewhat like a Maslow's curve on creativity. It's not, I mean, I don't want to get technical and all, but, we all, I mean, you said that, initially your aim was to sing for Rahman. And then you said you wanted to actually sing a full-fledged song. Then you wanted to compose music. You wanted that fame, popularity. I think we all go through that curve. And in the conversation, you mentioned that to me right now, what matters is to make good music. And
absolutely.
So I think you've gone from the phase of doing, creating content to producing creativity. I think that's how I would put it, and I think it's a journey for you, for everybody, right?
Yes, absolutely. That's really well put. I mean, I wouldn't have articulated it as well, to be honest. And I guess just one more thing that I would add from a personal point of view is, for me, enjoying music as a creator is, well, a significant part of it is also enjoying listening to music. And so I do a lot of that, because the more you listen, I guess the more it influences your creative process. And this is with any art, I guess. I mean, I'm sure you relate, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, when I read PG Woodhouse and then I immediately start typing an email to a friend, for instance, my language automatically tends to, veer towards, at least my sense of humor tries to ape, the humor in those books, although it would be a horrendous comparison to make.
No,
but yeah, you get what I mean.
I do. And
a lot of listening really helps, get the creative juices flowing as well.
Okay, so guys, for those of you listening to this on Anchor or Spotify, on any podcast platform, we have this. We have a video version of the same available on our YouTube channel, LastBench Studio. So you can always pop in there and check out Vijay and I talking on this. The links to all songs that we spoke about will also be there. So take a listen to them. Show your love to music, to Vijay, and of course to LastBench a little bit. I think that would be great. So Vijay, thank you so much. This was fun talking to you. I know we said we'll speak for 15-20 minutes, but this has gone much longer, but I think it was great. Lovely.
Thanks for having me, man. This was like really nice, and it felt great to connect with you after a long time.
Thank you.
And I'm so happy that you're doing this.
Thank you so much.
Good luck with the podcast and your production, LastBench. May you find all the success that you deserve.
Thank you so much, Vijay. Lovely talking to you. And to all the listeners, I know this was a little long episode, so I hope you enjoyed it. Let us know what you think about it, and we'll connect with you soon. Thank you so much.